Hello guys, welcome back to another exciting video. Today we'll be checking out this video from The Based Conservative. It's titled Matt Walsh Destroys Unprepared Activists in Hilarious Debate. So you guys get ready to laugh and laugh and laugh at this debate while we learn one of two things from both Matt Walsh and this leftist, right? But we're going to be seeing this together. My name is Ogechi. Welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, hello, hi. Do well to like, share, make sure to drop a comment on what you think about this video, okay? Please like, share, and subscribe. This thing helps with the algorithm and it helps, push out these videos, to people that really need to see this, okay? Let's check this out together.
Transgender people tend to have the brain structure that confirms their identity that they identify with. And you can look that up.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I will look that up and I won't find it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. It's not a fact.
Should we all pull out Google really quick?
It's not a fact.
So you're saying a trans man has the brain of a woman?
No.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all is good wherever you are. In this video, we're going to watch Matt Walsh debate a trans activist on suicidality in the trans community.
So you've talked a lot about the mental illness and depressed and anxious population in the trans community. But you don't talk about the happy people in the trans community and how these preventative measures of, let's say, like puberty and the surgeries that go for gender affirmation and how these are life-changing and life-saving. I know many people...
How do you know?
Okay, one second, if I can finish my conversation.
Okay.
Many people in my life have had these interventions made and it's saved their lives. I can list dozens of people in my life. So what do you have to say for...
You can list dozens of people who had surgeries and drugs as children and would be dead today if they hadn't?
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Dozens of people who have had interventions, including gender affirming, let's say therapies, yes, hormones, surgeries, that have made their lives better. I'm not saying it didn't force them to commit suicide, but it made their lives better. What do you have to say for the happy trans community?
I guess I would...
Before we hear from Matt Walsh, I'm really interested in what she means by there are happy people in the trans community. There are people who has had that intervention done and are actually living a better life. What does she mean by better life? I'm really interested in that. Does that mean that when they have like a transgender intervention done on them, does it mean that they are happier, they are more excited? I've never seen one. Most of the people that are here that are transgender are battling with mental illness, suicidal traumas and all those things, right? They are never satisfied with what they have because they've gone through... I mean we've heard of stories from detransitioners, right? But let's hear Matt Walsh's reply to that.
I guess I would throw back at you first because the burden of proof is on you on this one. Yeah. And I'll explain why the burden of proof is on you. Because as I went over in the talk, for thousands of years, human beings existed, and there was no such thing as trying to medically transition people into another gender. And as far as we know, there was no suicide epidemic because of it. True. And then in the last few years, people like yourself have come along and said, we desperately need to do this, or people will be in despair and they might kill themselves. So you are making a claim that contradicts common sense, science, biology, also the entire experience of the whole history of the human race. And so what that means is that the burden of proof is on you to support it. And so I'm going to ask you, you said that people need this stuff so they can live happier lives and potentially it'd be life-saving, you said even. Aside from your anecdotes of your friends who told you so, how do you know that?
Exactly.
Okay, so thinking back to when I was 16 in an anatomy class, when I learned that transgender people tend to have the brain structure that confirms their identity that they identify with. And you can look that up. That's a fact.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I will look that up and I won't find it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact.
I'm hearing this for the first time. Who has ever heard this before? Like, well, maybe we should look that up, right? I've never heard this. This is like my first time ever hearing this particular thing she just said. Let's continue.
It's
not a fact.
Should we all pull out Google really quick and look?
So you're saying a trans man has the brain of a woman?
No.
I don't know.
This girl whipped out the phone and said, yeah, it's a quick Google search.
She just said, let's Google search it, right? And then he asked her, he rephrased the question, and she said no. Like, these guys are usually confusionists. Like, they are so confused. But let's continue.
Google search and searched absolutely nothing. And you can see nobody's having any of this BS. Matt's not having it. This fellow's not having it. This older lady who's, from a generation where they had real issues going on. These people aren't having it back here. This girl's just laughing it off. Listen, you've just said something absolutely ridiculous, that a man can be born with a woman's brain, and now people are looking at you funny and calling you out on your BS. And listen, ladies, gentlemen, I am no fashionista by any means. I'm not here to shame anybody on fashion. But I will say one thing, same if I went to a business interview. If I was going to an event where I had the complete opposing view of the person I was going to try to debate, ask a question to, and I knew that said person was very knowledgeable about the topic at hand, and I also knew that this event would be filmed.
Point.
I would not show up with a tie-dye dolphin shirt. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
He said a tie-and-dye dolphin shirt. I feel like a lot of these young people, especially when you hear debates with Charlie Kirk and some of these college students, a lot of them come out with facts. They come out with it because they know who they are debating with. You can't come out wanting to debate with someone like Matt Walsh and you do not have your facts. You do not have enough knowledge about what you're talking about, because trust me, these guys you're trying to debate will rephrase this question to the extent that you'll be thinking about, what did I just say? Did I actually just say that? You have to be knowledgeable enough to know what you're talking about. You can't just come and... Let's continue.
I'm saying that a trans man who identifies as a man will tend to have similar brain structure that a cis man would.
And where did you get that from?
Help me ask.
Look it up. It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class when I was 16. And I looked up the fact before I walked up here because I knew that you would ask.
Okay. That's not true, but it also doesn't answer the question. So let's try to stay focused on one false claim at a time if we can, because we might get bogged down.
Okay.
So you actually started by saying that blocking puberty, which is chemical castration of a child,
just one example, yeah.
Yeah, is life-saving.
It can be.
How do you know?
How?
Because there are children who have been suicidal that have had these interventions.
Children having chemical blockers is actually life-saving. How? What is this girl even talking about? How? I mean,
these interventions made.
What children? How do you know? And how many children have had that done?
Me personally,
and
I
then
haven't
still
met
suicidal?
children. Me personally, I haven't met enough trans children to answer that question.
Okay.
But I know that the research exists.
You're making this statement. You're stating it as a fact in front of all these people. There must be a reason. There must be something that you encountered that led you to this rather radical conclusion that to save a child's life, you have to chemically castrate him.
Not every child. No, sir.
Okay. Well, that is what you just said. The drugs we give to kids for puberty blockers, so-called puberty blockers, originally are cancer drugs used to treat prostate cancer. They're also used to chemically castrate sex offenders and child rapists. Now we give them to physically healthy kids. You're saying that we need to do that or they will die. And so one last time I'm going to ask you, what evidence do you have of that remarkable claim?
I don't think I claimed that every child would benefit from that.
Well, no, I didn't say you did. You said puberty blockers. You said puberty blockers are life-saving. What evidence do you have for that?
They can be. The evidence is the encounters with patients who have had these procedures done, and it has saved their, I don't want to say it saved their lives, but it has made their lives better. I can't confirm whether or not they're alive right this second.
The question is how? How has puberty blockers saved a child's life? You see, that's the problem. The question here is, how has puberty blockers? Now, I never even knew that most of these puberty blockers were cancer treatments, whatever, and given to sex offenders to castrate them. And then you're giving it to a child, and I say you can actually save a child's life by giving them those chemicals. How? That's the question. We are trying to understand it, because I'm also as confused as Matt Walsh and as every other person, and even as you watching. How does this help a child?
But there are children that it has helped. So what do you have to say for the happy trans community who has benefited from these procedures? That's my question.
I guess what I have to say is that your entire question is built on a whole stack of false premises that you can't begin to even remotely defend. So it's a faulty question from the start. I reject your premise.
Yeah.
I absolutely reject that there are any kids who need to be chemically castrated in order to be happy.
Okay, let's...
I reject that.
You can't show up and present anecdotal evidence as fact. In this case, there was not even anecdotal evidence. She's like, well, you know, it's life-saving. Well, whose life did it save? Well, I don't know. I'm sure it saved some lives. I'm not sure, though. And Matt says, well, you said it was life-saving. You know, you said it was going to save some kids' lives. Well, I never said kids, and I'm not sure, but it's what I'm told. I mean, come on, lady. We know that the suicide rate in this community is the highest 7 or 8 years after transitioning. We're going to look back, mark my words, we're going to look back in 20, 30 years at this time in history, and we're going to think, what in the name of God were we doing to these poor little children, castrating young boys, doing double mastectomies on girls? What we should be teaching these young kids is that there's no right or wrong way to be a little boy or a little girl. You're not born in the wrong body. God gave you the specific body that was for you. And if you have gender dysphoria, which is unfortunate if somebody would have that, it's a real thing, but it's not the numbers that this community will try to tell you it. And you don't fix a problem with the mind by altering someone's body.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. They need a psychologist. Kids have to go through puberty to get proper brain development.
Yes.
Putting them on puberty blockers is not going to help. Have you all ever seen how they give a little girl a fake penis, chopping the parts of the forearm and making this weird mangled up apparatus? If you read detransitioners' websites, they all are depressed because they can't have a proper mate, a proper sexual relationship with a woman. And obviously, because it's not real, this thing doesn't work. I feel bad for these little kids that get talked into this by these psychologists that are probably paid off by Big Pharma, because this is a massive industry, that are the victims of bad parenting. You know, and parents, like, they're told this, oh yeah, well, it's good for your kids. What would you rather have, a trans kid or a kid that's gonna off themselves? I feel for the parents, but at the same time, you have to be knowledgeable on the topic. You gotta stand up for the kids. A lot of times parents are the issues in this community. Why is it that all these parents that have these trans kids all seem like they actually want a trans kid? They all seem a little bit off the charts. They all seem a little bit off their rocker. I went down the rabbit hole of this a few months ago when I started this channel, and the stats that this community gives you are all off. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Comment, like, subscribe, be respectful. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.
I mean, I totally agree with him. I don't blame this girl. I don't blame the kids. I blame the parents. Because it is the parents who are supposed to be guardians and parents to these kids that take their kids to hospitals to have them castrated. So they are the ones. I mean, have you actually read the stories of the transitioners? It is so depressing. Those guys are so depressed. Like, they regret ever transitioning in the first place. Now, if as an adult you want to transition, that's your cup of coffee. But for children, I feel like every child needs to actually go through puberty. We all went through puberty. Allow kids go through puberty. That is the way. That's the only way, you know, they can have their brain fully and properly developed, because they have to go through puberty. Probably if they, you know, start having gender dysphoria or whatever, they're confused. Probably because of what they've been seeing on the internet, what they hear their friends talk about, what they see their parents do, what they see their parents' friends do. Then they should go for therapy. Yes, they should go for therapy. Get somebody who will talk to them, make them understand certain things, that it's okay. It's okay when you get to this stage, your body developing. I understand you're being curious, you're inquisitive, you want to know what's going on in your body. But saying, giving children chemical blockers to giving children chemical blockers actually saves their life. You have no fact about that. Like, there is nothing about there's nothing to say about having anything to say. What about the happy trans community? There's nothing to say about that, because you cannot come out and say children going through giving children chemical blockers saves their life, makes them happier people. Who gave you that? Where did you get that fact from? Where did you get statistics from? It is so crazy. It is insane. I feel like children need to be children. They need to be protected at all costs, because 20 to 30 years now, we'll have so many depressed adults, so many depressed parents, because when they see what their children have become, they will equally not be happy. So, the society the values and the morals is declining, and people who have who still think properly needs to come out to talk properly. Anyway, let's know your thoughts on what you think about this particular conversation. Do you think the girl has a point? Maybe you are a parent whose child is currently transitioning or has transitioned. Has it made your child better? Or a friend's child that has transitioned. What do you think about children transitioning or allowing children transition? What do you think they become happy adult? Do you think they become happier? Do you think it will save their lives? Let's know what you think about this conversation. Please, let's keep it respectful. Drop your comments and thoughts on what you think about this video. Do well to like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell, and I'll see you in my next episode. Bye bye.